I want to talk with you about the news that happened on Friday. You'll note that the college football playoff decided they were not going to expand, or as I wrote on foxsports.com, rather than be like Eric B. or Rakim rocking the mic to get paid in full, the 11, that is the 11 folks that, are responsible for recommending such things like expanding the playoff, and then the CFP board of managers who would have to approve such a recommendation, decided to stand pat. And they're going to finish their 12-year agreement through 2025. We're going to stay at 4 teams for the college football playoff. And this kind of sucks, right? Because we all were salivating over an expanded playoff. Matter of fact, so was the college football playoff selection committee, quite honestly, because look, they gave us a 12-team format back in June of 2021 that it felt like we were going to get approved by September of last year, and that got put off, and it got put off again, and it finally got nailed in the coffin this past weekend to my just ever-loving chagrin. Like, I was very excited about this, and I'm also mad about it. And the reason I'm mad about it is because you had an opportunity to make the sport more profound, right? You had an opportunity not to make it more competitive. That's not what I'm after. I'm going to get to that in here in a little bit, because we're going to talk a little bit later on about the teams that I think have the best opportunity to make the college football playoff, who haven't made the college football playoff. But that's tricky because, as I'm going to demonstrate to you, it's been more difficult to make the college football playoff than it has been to play in a BCS game, let alone the BCS title game, which is the real reason that we were here in the first place talking about the college football playoff. And we're excited about it back in 2014 when we got started doing this. But the other thing to keep in mind here is that because the earliest that we could see expansion is 2027, we're also going to be thinking about what this can look like by 2027. But I also need to say in here, according to SI, The Athletic, you had a vote of 8-3, right? And you needed a unanimous vote from the CFP's board of managers, who got their recommendations from the CFP's, well, not board of managers, but management committee. So many different terms. Management committee is basically made up of your 10 FBS commissioners plus Jack Swarbrick and Notre Dame, because Notre Dame's always got to show us that they are Notre Dame, because they won't just go ahead and marry into a conference. Instead, they're going to stay in this open marriage with the ACC, and I'm going to keep giving them the business about it because you're no better than the rest of us. That's kind of my point with the college football playoff in general. Then the CFP board of managers has 11 presidents and chancellors on it that ultimately approve whatever decisions that the CFP's management committee decides on, right? But with those 8-3, you also had 3 very loud people saying, hey, look, we don't particularly think this is a bad or a good thing that we're not expanding. Bob Bowlesby wanted to expand. He'd been loud about that, right? We even had George Kliavkoff, who's the newest Power 5 commissioner, to join up, say, hey, look, I wanted to expand. He just got here. He's also coming from Vegas, which gives him a little bit more of a perspective, knowing what gambling is doing to the sport and in other sports, and what it would be like if you could have a 12-team playoff, how much more money you could make. And that's kind of the other part about this that is really, really infuriating to me. They left $450 million on the table. Put another way, they left Patrick Mahomes' contract at Kansas City on the table. Put even another way, they left $500 million on the table. Now, if you are one of these Power 5 conferences, perhaps you're not looking at this thing going, you know what, I'd like to eat some more. No, you're probably looking at it going, you're full. But I'm not, right? I'm a member of the college football proletariat, right? I really want to see more football. I don't get anything out of being an Alabama fan or an Ohio State fan or even a Clemson fan. I get a lot out of just watching what the sport looks like when Cincinnati is able to up and get into this very exclusive club that is the college football playoff. I'm not going to tell you that Cincinnati has an opportunity to win that, but when you can put more teams into the playoff, you give folks more of an opportunity to participate. And I'm still surrounded by a bunch of folks that would rather have this closed off society, this closed club, than open it up to the masses. And that, for me, is uniquely un-American. Like, quite honestly, man, it's about the melting pot. We got 130 teams in FBS. only 13 of them had made the college football playoff. And it doesn't feel like we're going to get into a position where we're going to see more, right? So again, 10% of 130 teams have made the playoff. Now, if you're Harvard, that's twice your acceptance rate at 5%. But the way I like to look at this is the Naval Academy admits 9% of its applicants. That means that the college football playoff has been as selective as the United States Naval Academy. I don't think that's the way that you want to do this. I don't think that's the way you should draw this up, especially as we're getting to this place where we're even more connected than we used to be, right? To say nothing of, we wanted to take this whole thing out of the hands of individual voters and put it back on the scoreboard for the teams to decide. You know, half a century ago, it was a bunch of folks that were quote unquote journalists voting for Notre Dame who won national championships. Like that's how you went about this. We've gotten progressively better, right? We got the Bowl Alliance. Then we got the BCS. Now we're at the playoff. And we had an opportunity to leap ahead once again, but we chose to be conservative rather than progressive. And that just sucks, right? So now I'm going to list for you the teams that have won the college football playoff national championship. Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, LSU, and Ohio State. Okay? Just 4 teams, though, make up 21 of the 32 possible appearances by any team since the first ever college football playoff game. Okay? Those 4 teams are Alabama, Clemson, Oklahoma, and Ohio State. Okay? Another way to look at this is 65% of the college football playoff for the past 8 years is made up of just 4% of college football. 4%. It's as if the rest of it doesn't even matter. And I refuse to believe that, right? I choose to believe that Cincy having a magic season matters, that Central Florida having a magic season matters, that if your team, say it be Fresno State, right, who was pretty doggone good last year, or Utah State, or San Diego State, puts together an unblemished regular season, I think you should have an opportunity to showcase, right? Forget talking about the playoff as this thing that decides a national champion, though it's what I like, right? I want to know you are the best of the best with honors, sir. But I also want this to act as a showcase for the teams that have done something really cool. And that's what the NCAA men's basketball tournament, NCAA women's basketball tournament does very well. Same thing with the Women's College World Series, quite honestly, right? You have this extended, long tournament that everybody gets to participate in, and you make a decentralized sport a centralized sport. You give us all one collective event to come together with. And that's what everybody keeps telling me they want, right? They want to see us being with each other, having fun with each other. And I submit to you, there's something fun to me about perhaps watching Ohio State play Cincinnati, even if Ohio State beat Cincinnati 42-7, which I think is a thing that happened like 3 years ago. It's still fun, and that's what we want, because Cincinnati gets to say, hey, we made the playoff, and we made the playoff by having a spectacular season, not by going 6-6 and making a bowl game. Because those are the folks that are actually winning when we talk about what standing pat means. It means the bowl committees get to keep what they got, right? They don't have to incorporate into this 12-team format, but it's coming sooner rather than later. And I understand that the CFP's management committee, as well as its board of managers, are not excited, right, about trying to expand the playoff while trying to wrap their hands around name, image, and likeness. And like I talked about last week and written on foxsports.com, they're probably going to have to deal with universities treating their college athletes like employees because, well, this is America and we have labor laws. That's what this is for. We're also going to have unions. That's what this is for, right? But right now we're at war with 4, thanks to what I have called cheekily the 11, because 10 conference commissioners plus Notre Dame, 11, you know what I'm saying? Kind of like the Supreme Court, the 9. You understand, you're keeping up. But to that end, now that we know that we're at 4 for the next 4 years, I thought it'd be fun to talk about which teams, quite possibly, could make the college football playoff who haven't, and then do a special We Out Your bit where I get to hear from you who you think could make the college football playoff who hasn't already. So I've called this segment Club CFP, okay, because that's what it is. It's an exclusive club. I mentioned of the 130 teams, just 13 have made the playoff, but in the champagne room, right, where the VIPs be at, we got the 21 of 32. So Alabama's made 7 appearances. Clemson's made 6. Ohio State's made 4. Oklahoma's made 4, right? Again, those 4 teams make up 65% of participation, all the dancing that's going on at Club CFP. All right, now, how does this compare to the Bowl Championship Series? It's a question I asked, and I found an answer for it just by doing the research, just going through it, doing the work of a sports talk show host. From 1998 to 2014, 10 different programs played in the BCS National Championship game, and no team made more than 3 appearances. Let me say that again. We had 10 teams play in the BCS National Championship game, and we had no team make more than 3 appearances in 16 years. By the way, Alabama made all 3 of those appearances. And Alabama has already won 3 college football playoff national championships. It felt like the playoff is supposed to make the BCS better. And instead, it's been more constricting than the BCS. For those of y'all that are already talking about we should go back to the BCS, no. The way to go forward is not to go back. Okay? That doesn't work. We don't go back and say we went forward. Okay? We know what the BCS does. We know what the 14 playoff does. Let's see what a 12 or 16 team playoff. I keep saying 16 because that's my number, but it feels like we're going to land on 12 because that's what the folks in charge get to say. Thanks for watching this video, and remember, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any other videos on the #1 ranked show YouTube channel.